Welcome to Sips and Side Quests, an adventure-themed podcast series where we quest to quench our thirst for knowledge. If you're new to the show, there are a few things to know. The episodes are dressed up to be their own fantasy game-inspired verbal adventures. Each segment takes place within a fictional town or the surrounding areas, and much like any great expedition, the topics of our discussions may range far and wide. I'm your host, Troy.
And I'm your co-host, Darren. Thanks for being here with us for episode 003. Don't forget, new episodes released Thursday mornings on most major streaming platforms. Last week, the Tavern Bounty Board tasked you with asking someone about their cool tattoo. For those of you that completed the bounty, great job. We love to see it. That's a hefty amount of experience awarded to you. Comment down below and tell us your story. What happened? Stay with us until the end of today's episode for your next bounty. Today's adventure is shaping up to be a good one. Tell us about it, Troy.
I sure will. We've definitely got some deep cuts to get into today, starting off, of course, with our Tavern Tales segment, where we hopefully will move a little bit closer towards inner peace after we reflect on some of our core memories. Following that will be us moving on immediately from that pronunciation to find ourselves at the town board. We've got some decisions to make regarding which risks we'd take in a special scenario-style segment centered around moral dilemmas. And finally, to close out the episode, we'll be engaged in a fight for our lives, in which the harder we sweat, the stronger we get. All of that and more coming up, but before we can get into any of it, Darren, I gotta know, what are you sipping on?
I had a feeling you would ask.
Of course. That's the show.
So what I'm sipping on today is Trader Vic's Tequila Matador, which is a sweet tequila drink shaken with pineapple and lime juice. This drink was first printed in 1972 in, you guessed it, Trader Vic's Bartender's Guide. So, a little bit about Trader Vic's. It's a restaurant and tiki bar chain headquartered in California. Victor Jules Bergeron Jr. is the founder of the chain, and it is his nickname, Trader Vic, which is a stark contrast. And what I found out during this is I can't just call it a Tequila Matador, it's Trader Vic's Tequila Matador, because Cafe Royale has a Tequila Matador, which is made with tequila, dry vermouth, and Cointreau. So pretty different set of ingredients there.
Interesting. Which would you say sounds more appealing to you out of the two drinks as an avid cocktailist?
That is what we're called. So I'm very interested in trying the Cafe Royale version.
Okay.
And I say Royale because, Royale with cheese, but it's Royal. As a royal pain in the butt to pronounce. But tequila, dry vermouth feels good. Cointreau, it feels like unique, like not something that I would have ever had before. This feels almost like a precursor to tiki drinks. It feels like an unfinished tiki drink. It's not a bad cocktail, but it's definitely one that I'm probably not going to partake in again, but curiosity won out.
Yeah, tiki drink is definitely a good descriptor. I really get like beach vibes from that. Let me ask you, you said it was pineapple and lime. Did you use fresh for that? How'd you do it?
Freshly bought with my own money. I just used, I think it's Dole. I don't know what it is. It's in the can. Fresh enough, right?
Canned pineapple juice. Boo.
Yeah, that's right. As opposed to squeezed. Do you squeeze pineapples? I don't know how you get pineapple juice out.
Just crush them in between your hands. You'll get juice all over.
Like watermelons between your thighs, right? Same energy. But Troy, why don't you let me know, what are you sipping on?
Yeah, let's get into mine. I'm back for episode 3 with yet another pale ale. Just kidding. Kind of. I have with me today Rheingeist's Truth IPA, which is an India pale ale. So similar, but not the same thing. Truth is, to me, the quintessential IPA. It's pretty much the standard of what an IPA should be, in my opinion. Get into a little bit of history here with IPAs in general. As I just stated, it does stand for India Pale Ale, and it does differ from the American style, and I'll tell you why. It has much bolder hops flavors, much stronger bitterness, and generally higher levels of alcohol For example, the one I have with me today, the Truth, this is going to be a 7.2% ABV.
It's a doozy.
Which is, hitting me a little harder than I expected because I usually stick to the 5 to 6 range, but we're fine. Fun little fact here about IPAs. They're actually brewed in England, like originally, when they were first, starting out. They were brewed in England and then exported to India. So that's sort of where the name came from. But as a result, they had to be transported via sea voyages, like ships and things like that. So the higher hop and alcohol contents, those were actually intentional in an effort to preserve the alcohol during those long sea voyages. So that's where those aspects of the drink come from. Pretty cool. Another little fun fact before we move on from the history, IPAs were originally called October Ales, and then they just eventually evolved into the IPA we know today. Obviously because of the history of them being exported to India, but still, October Ale. Not something I would have ever thought. This one I have with me now to get a little more specific. Like I said, this comes from Rheingeist. This is called Truth. Rheingeist is a brewery in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's quite popular, not only in Ohio, but all over the country. It's actually the 22nd most popular independent brewery in the United States as of 2023. Actually, in Ohio itself, and I say Ohio because that's where we are out of, there's only one other independent brewery on the list that's based in Ohio that's more popular than Rheingeist. Darren, do you know which one that is?
There's so many good ones. Can I have a hint?
Think like northern Ohio.
Okay. Thinking like Cleveland
type area.
Energy,
yeah.
Is it Great Lakes?
It is. Wow. He knew it. I almost just cursed there. But it's okay, I didn't do it. We're family friendly.
A lot of enthusiasm.
A lot of enthusiasm for the correct guess there. But yeah, you're right. But we'll get to Great Lakes another time. I think they're in like the teens on the list, so even more popular nationwide. Truth, though, I guess is not popular nationwide. It's not even sold nationwide. It's mostly just Ohio and the surrounding states. But if you live like far away from Ohio and you've heard of this drink, Truth IPA out of Rheingeist, let us know, because I'm interested to see what the reach of this thing is. Because like I said, for me, this is like the standard IPA. Like pretty much anywhere around here that you go would sell this. Not only in cans, it's on tap. You go to any brewery or bar here that has craft beer, you're going to find the Truth IPA. Wouldn't you say, Darren? You have some experience there.
Yeah, I would say it's the gold standard. I'm not a big IPA guy myself, but it has a pretty recognizable handle, and you see it pretty much any bar you go to in the area. Yeah. So I'm surprised to learn that Truth doesn't have much reach outside of Ohio, because it just feels like they would.
Yeah, that's what I'm interested in finding out, because I looked on their website. Those are the places it's sold, right? Is like Ohio. You think neighboring states: Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois. I think it goes up to like Minnesota, which is actually further away than I expected, but. If there's somebody out in California that had heard of this, that would be cool to know, So maybe the reach is further than where it's sold. Who knows? That's all the information I have, though, for this drink today. Rheingeist has a ton more history to get into. There we go. And also so many more options to choose from. So they're definitely going to be a heavy hitter on my Sips segments in the future. But for now, you'll have to find out on a future episode about them.
And they've got a really cool brewery too.
Yeah, they do. Have you been?
I have been, yeah. I've got merch, shamelessly.
Oh, what kind of merch did you pick up? Like a shirt or like a koozie, maybe?
Like a tank top, yeah. Just something to rep, and it gets noticed when you're out.
Yeah, it's a cool spot. They've got a little like rooftop area you can drink on. It's got a beautiful like view of the Cincinnati skyline and stuff. So not to be confused with Skyline Chili, which is also out of Cincinnati, but we'll talk about that another time, because that's Not my
So
favorite spot.
they've got food in the brewery too, but they don't actually make the food. It comes up in one of those pneumatic bank tubes. And I don't know if it was the fact that I had been drinking there or what, but it was one of the coolest things that I've seen at a
Wait, it
brewery.
comes up in a tube?
Yeah, like the bank tubes, like when you were a kid and it would like your mom would like stop at the
Yeah,
the bank, not the ATM, and it would go like whoop.
Yeah, the drive-through. Like they'd put some little like suckers in there. I used to love
there's
the blue
like
raspberries.
there's like a sandwich shop or something below. I don't know if it's like affiliated or their own thing, but it just like whoops on up and you just can watch it. And my happy little brewery brain was running overtime. It was really cool.
That's that's one of those things where you've had a few drinks and then you see that unexpectedly and you're just like, oh my god, this is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah. After a few drinks though, you're like, okay, cool. But I have a fun fact for you about how Rheingeist actually started. I know you said that you'd mentioned their history in a later episode, so I'll keep it succinct. But do you know how Rheingeist came about?
I do not. No, I didn't look that one up today.
So the guy that started Rheingeist, they considered him insane, like an idiot, moron, because he was starting a brewery in the Over the Rhine neighborhood in Cincinnati. And in 2008, the Over the Rhine neighborhood was considered more dangerous than Compton. And I don't know if he was a visionary or what, but he started a brewery there. And like you said, it's 22 of independent breweries in the country. That's insane for him to take it from where it was to what it is now.
Yeah, as of 2023. As recently as 2008, it was as dangerous as Compton. I did not know that. I knew Cincinnati was not regarded as like the greatest area. I think I actually visited Cincinnati University in high school, which would have been around that time. So I was aware of the danger, but I didn't know it was quite that bad. That's nuts.
Yeah, the parking has barbed wire around it. It's they don't shy away from their history.
Yikes. Well, okay. But yeah, thanks for that. I definitely look forward to getting more into Rheingeist history in future episodes, as well as, some of their various offerings. But I think that's pretty good for sips for now. What do you say we get into our storytelling portion of the episode? You ready?
Let's kick it in gear. Yeah.
All right. So we've learned about the pass of what's in our glass. Now let's get into some Tavern Tales. Upon finding ourselves once again seated in the tavern, one begins to wonder, how is it that we continue ending up here? Possessing no recollection of entering the establishment, a wave of concern begins to wash over us. However, it is quickly swept away as a warm breeze dances across our cheeks. The bartender has just wedged the front door open with a block of wood, assumingly so that those inside the tavern may also enjoy today's weather. A lively tune finds its way in through the newly opened entrance. A band of troubadours appear to be stationed just outside, and with it comes multiple rays of scattered sunlight, making everything appear much brighter than it usually is. The glints of various metallic objects on the walls make it difficult to look anywhere but the floor, and as we proceed to divert our gaze, we notice something. A small black bag tucked away behind the leg of a bar stool. Trimmed with gold and tied together at the top by a string of the same color, this clearly was not left behind on purpose. We move to retrieve it and do so successfully, but before we can attempt to peek inside, we're interrupted by the loud twang of a string instrument gone awry as the music stops abruptly. A child runs in through the open door of the tavern, giggling profusely as they make a beeline for the bar. "Come now, boy," we hear a voice call. "No time for games." But the boy makes no move to exit. Crouched behind the bar now and smiling broadly, the boy glances over at us and puts a finger to his lips. Amused, we give a sly okay gesture with one hand as we pocket the black bag with the other. Ah, the joys of adolescence. What it would be to be young again. And with that, we have arrived at today's story prompt, childhood. So, Darren, tell me about one of your favorite childhood memories. This is going to be a core experience that has stuck with you throughout all of your years, and one that you think is going to stick in your memory and just persist throughout the entirety of your life.
Okay. A core memory, as you said?
A core memory. That is correct.
I thought about this for a while. I feel like, there's a lot of things that can stick with you, and what's defined as childhood as opposed to like adolescence. So I thunk on it for a little bit, and it's not something I think about often, this specific memory, but it's definitely one that meant a lot to me at the time, and I didn't think that I could do any better than that. Like that amount of sheer joy that I experienced from this memory. And so back when I was in elementary school, I believe this was second grade, we had 3 elementary schools in the district, and we had all 3 elementary schools come over to the gym to play. It may have been 2, like one other one, in our gym. So a total of 2 or 3. And so we were playing this game called Six Corners. And so with Six Corners, music would play and you would run around, and everyone was giggling, and they would throw a dice after the music stopped. And if you were in the corner that the dice came up as, you were out. You didn't get to play anymore. And so that went on for not a very long time, maybe 10, 12 minutes, enough to keep children of that age busy, and the ones that sat out entertained too. And what I remember is it came down to, just a few people left, and we ended up in separate corners. And what I remember is I ended up the very last corner to win. And as a kid in second grade, to win when you have, a total of 2, 3 elementary schools, and they're like, all right, everyone turn to him and salute him. It felt really good.
Hold on.
Like, yeah,
they made them salute you?
Yeah, they're like, okay, now salute him, because it's like, oh, you won. So at that point in time, I felt really good. I felt powerful. I was the king of the gym at that time. But across multiple elementary schools, like your little kid brain, just get overwhelmed.
This is like a dictator's origin story of how he finds out that he loves power. Saluting is crazy. I'm sorry.
What else would you want them to do? I don't know.
Clap? Why a salute? That's nuts.
I have no idea. No, so don't think like salute where they like held it straight. You do like the salute and then you like throw it out kind of thing.
Oh, so I'm thinking of they're all just standing there. Oops.
No, not with like their legs together about face.
Like a military salute, and they hold it for like 10, 15 seconds.
No. Think like hit your eyebrow and then like after a second or two throw it out kind of thing.
Now that sounds a little more anime to me. That's a little less dictatory for sure.
No, but if we do need to cite my villain origin story, this is where it starts. But that was one of the best moments, and I still remember it to this day. So that's one that sticks with me. But
okay.
What stands out for you?
Stands out for me from my childhood?
Your core memory.
Yeah. I went in quite a different direction than you on this. You went like joy, like this is like your best. And you know what? The prompt was, tell me one of your favorites. And this one I'm telling is not one of my favorites, actually. It's just a core experience.
So you ignored the prompt?
I did ignore the prompt. And you know what's funny? I came up with the prompt. Yeah, I came up with the prompt.
That's bad. So
this is not one of my favorites, but it's a good one. I really took core memory to it. I took the phrase core memory to its core here. Man, that hurts to say, but it's what I did. So let me set the scene, right? I think this was like 5th or 6th grade. Okay. And Darren, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we did go to the same elementary school. Obviously not going to give like personal details, but we were in there together. Well, it's not news to him because we were friends. He's lying. He's totally lying. But yeah, we went to the same elementary school. This was 5th or 6th grade. But Darren, do you remember when we were that age, people used to hang out at like a local ice skating rink, an indoor ice skating rink? Are you aware of that?
That and they hung out on AIM, yes.
Oh my God, that's part of the story. See? This is awesome. So when we were young, one of the like local hangout spots for like kids our age, we had like a big, really nice actually indoor ice skating rink that everybody used to go to. It seemed nice at the time, you know. It might not be nice anymore. It might not have been nice at the time, but we were kids and everything seemed much better than it was. But this memory comes from those days, 5th, 6th grade. To just continue setting the scene even a little bit more, I had a computer in my room, and back then it was one of those big white ones, which actually I struggle to even call it white because it was one of those it was like yellowish, like off-white. You know what I'm talking about? The big monitors,
thick ones that like go back. Because like when you say white, like what's the depth? Like what's the dimensions on it?
Like big, like you have the screen and then it extends like 2 feet out the back.
Like one of those old tube TVs?
Yeah, but it was, you know, a computer monitor.
Yeah.
And then the big tower. So yeah, it was one of the old boys. But I just wanted to clarify that because we might have some younger listeners to this podcast, and I'm sure they don't even know about those days. Everything is so sleek and flat these days. But yeah, so I had that, and I was on it quite a lot back in the day. As Darren said, he spoiled it for you guys, but yeah, this took place on AIM, which was an instant messenger back in the day. It was from AOL, which hopefully some of you have heard of. It was the online hangout spot, much like the ice rink, but this was virtual. So this particular memory, to actually get into what I'm talking about here, one of my friends at the time had invited me over AIM. I was chatting him with there. He said he was going to this ice rink, right? And I knew that's where all the cool kids hung out, and I don't think I'd ever been there at this point, and so I was nervous to go. Not just because there was a lot of kids there, but because I didn't know how to ice skate at all. I'd never been, but he said he was going, and so I remember being really nervous, really anxious. And I was like, this seems like a lot. I've never ice skate before. There's going to be a lot of people I know there. I'm not going to go. So I told him no. And then he, you know, I don't remember the exact conversation. It was obviously so long ago. But he ends up logging off. And then as soon as he logs off, Darren, you know what FOMO means?
I'm familiar.
Fear of missing out, right? As soon as he logs off, I start having like this little like... how old were we in 6th grade? Like 10? There's like this little 10-year-old panic attack where I'm like, why did I say no? Everybody's going and I'm going to miss out and this and that. So I started getting anxious about not going. So I was anxious about going, so I said no, and then I got anxious about not going, and I started like crying, and I tell my mom and this and that, and it turns into this whole thing where I was anxious to go, so I said no, and now I'm anxious that I'm not going, and so then I beg my mom to take me, and I do end up going, and it ends up not even being a great experience because I don't know how to ice skate. So I'm just hanging onto the wall the whole time. But you know what? I was there. I was part of it. And this isn't one of my favorites, like I said. No, it's not one of my favorites. I totally blanked out the favorite part there. So sorry for that. But this is definitely one of the core memories of all time, for sure. And I picked this one because I feel like this really signifies a lot of who I am as a person. I suffer from anxiety, not to get too deep, but it's been a problem for a long time, for long periods of my life. And this is one of those ones where I'm like, I can look back and I'm like, this has just always been part of me. Just being anxious, just overthinking everything, you know, even at that young age. So it makes me feel better about myself at this older adult age because I'm like, you know, this is just something that is a part of me and that, you know, is part of who I am. And so sometimes it's a bad thing, but I can't blame myself for it too much. You know, I can just do what I can. When they talk
about a situation where, you know, you're going to remember when you go to sleep, when you're, you know, in your late 20s and you wake up in a cold sweat just because of that one thing that you did. This is one of them. This is definitely a situation I can imagine that invokes that.
See, this would have been one of them where I wake up regretful if I hadn't gone. But I went. And it, like I said, it wasn't great because, like, I couldn't skate, but man, imagine if I hadn't gone. Skate. I'd be thinking about it still.
Every time I go ice skate, I regret ice skating because I'm like, I'm just I just cannot ice skate. I don't know how much you have to do it to keep up with it, but my muscle memory just does not click.
Yeah, never learned to do that. In a similar vein, recently I went, not recently, it was like 4 or 5 years ago. Seems recent. The older you get, but I went skiing for the first time. You ever been?
I have a story I won't hijack, but with snowboarding, but not skiing, no.
It might be the same story. Basically, I'd never been. I had not done any research on how to do it. My friends kept telling me French fry. No,
Pizza,
wait,
French fry.
wait. They kept telling me to pizza instead of French fry, and I was trying to do that. I was going down the beginner hill, but what nobody tells you is you have to like tilt your ankles to dig into the snow. I was just rotating my ankles to pizza, and it was just causing me to wipe out over and over and over and over. I ended up ripping my pants.
Oh.
But
What
you know
age was
what?
this?
The final 2 or 3 times, after like a couple hours of trying, I made it down without falling. So, never went back after that. That was 4 or 5 years ago. But you know what? I got down that I got down that hill without falling. So,
What we need to do, and not now because of the weather, but we need to go tubing. I've heard tubing is extremely dangerous and fun, and that just sounds like a good time.
do they allow you to like drink and tube?
I mean, maybe not at the same time. I don't think there's any restrictions on like
No, like prior.
pre-game your tube.
Like hit the what's like the lodge? Like hit the lodge, have a few drinks, and then just go like screaming down a hill in an inner tube. That sounds hilarious. As long as you
Sounds
don't
sick,
drink too many, and then that sounds terrible. But just like a few, nice buzz.
So core memories, actually, Memori. When I think it was fourth grade, they had a ski club that I had joined, which just really amounts to like after school field trip to go drink hot cocoa. But I did that, and so I decided that snowboarding was way cooler than skiing, and so I figured I'd try snowboarding. Well, what they don't tell you is that snowboarding is way harder than skiing.
Yeah.
Because you pretty much get to do, I don't remember the other iteration. I want to say it's L turn. You do L turns and J turns to slow down. And I did some lessons, I practiced on the beginner slope, but you get going really fast on a snowboard. And so a lot of that ski club time I spent drinking hot cocoa. So the lodge is nice at least.
Yeah. It sounds like you got pretty well acquainted with the lodge.
I was regular.
Wow,
for
L
sure.
turns and J turns. Yeah, see, that sounds even more advanced than pizza and French frying. And I couldn't even really get that down, so I'm glad I didn't pick snowboarding. But that's one of those weird things where snowboarding does just seem so much cooler than skiing. I don't know
really
why.
does.
What is it about it? I don't know. Maybe like the stance you take when you're going down, because you're snowboarding, you're kind of like, your arms are out to the side and your legs are bent, you look cool. And then skiing, you're just like,
Could be
got
like
these little
the
poles
stigma,
in my hands.
right? It's like skates versus rollerblades, same energy. But with snowboarding, I think it's because, snowboarding was associated with like X Games and all these extreme sports. And so snowboarding is what you do if you're posh and, you like to sit in a hot tub in the middle of Switzerland, which, I mean, sign me up. But I think it's the stigma associated with it.
Yeah, stigmas. They really are something, huh? But, yeah, so that feels pretty good for Tavern Tales. Those were, the mess up with the favorite is hilarious, but it's a good story, though. It's very nostalgic. I'm so glad that you, said the AIM thing. That was such a good lead-in there. But, yeah. Did you have anything else to add, or any anecdotes that you wanted to share, or should we move on out of here?
No, I mean, that feels good. It is funny, though, that AIM was very prevalent back then. I mean, that was how we communicated, because that was before text got too popular, and you had to pay for text too. Those were different times.
Yeah, man, you had to pay for everything. I remember we didn't have internet connections on our phones unless you paid a lot extra for it.
Oh yeah, that was you're grounded for life if you turned on the internet on your phone back then.
Yeah, for sure. We had to pay for ringtones and things. Remember ringback tones?
Oh, like when you call someone?
Yeah, and it played a song. That's epic.
I think I had Hey There Delilah in middle school.
Something I always...
feels cringy now.
Yeah, well, if you're not cringing, you're not growing. That's what they say. But I always thought it'd be hilarious. I never did it, but I always thought it'd be funny to do the Rickroll song as my ringback, which might also be a little cringy thinking back. But at the time, I was like, dude, this would be so funny.
But I digress. You were asking if I was done, and I said I was done and proceeded to say
There's
more.
Just nostalgia is powerful, you know. But yeah, we'll go ahead and transition here. Although much time has passed, the tavern remains largely the same. It seems as if not a single patron has left their seat in the entire time we were telling stories. Strange. Sunlight still streams in through the open door, as we think to ourselves, maybe sitting inside on such a nice day is a bit of a waste. We stand, stretch out our back and legs, and thusly leave the tavern. The troubadours have long since resumed playing, and we spot the boy from earlier sulking behind the instrument cases that sit behind the group. He must have gotten punished, we think. Hopefully not too harshly. Having no plans and nothing scheduled, we decide to head over to the town board to see if we can find anything worth exploring. Numerous papers adorn the wooden board, all of which have their own purpose. Livestock-eating beasts who need dealt with, resources from dangerous areas that require collection, adventurers who wish to find companions to travel with so they need not go alone. All worthy quests in which to embark on, and yet our attention is grabbed by something else, a missing poster. Normally reserved for townsfolk who have disappeared, this one looks different. Where normally there would be a lengthy description of the missing, there is but a single line of text. A small fortune is to be bestowed upon the returner. The returner of what, we wonder? Our eyes drift upwards and are greeted by a crude drawing of a black bag, tied together at the top by a gold string. Our hand moves instinctively to our thigh. It's still there. But who would place such a high bounty on something so small and seemingly inconsequential? We again search the paper and find something we had missed previously, a tiny logo in the bottom right corner. We're unable to place where we've seen it before, but as we gaze at it, we feel a sense of familiarity. Curious. Conflicting thoughts race across our mind. We could find the meaning of the logo, return the bag, and claim the reward. It'd certainly be the right thing to do. But then again, what's inside the bag must be extremely valuable. It's possible we could use it for ourselves to gain even greater riches, perhaps even power. We yank the poster away from the board and stuff it in our pocket alongside the black bag. We've arrived at today's first specialty segment, a discussion on moral dilemmas. So, Darren, how this is going to work, I'm going to read out a scenario to you. You're going to tell me what you would do in the situation, and then we'll do a little bit of discussing. I do want to give credit where credit's due. This is a D&D themed list, actually. It comes from, I found the post on r/D100 on Reddit. Purpose of the post was just to come up with different moral dilemmas, different scenarios you could put your D&D party into that would cause some interesting debates and things like that. So felt on brand for this podcast. Some alternate titles for this post, and the user deleted their account. This was from 6 years ago, so pretty old. Still wanted to throw it out there though. D100 scenarios to screw with the goody two shoes paladin. So let's
that's the personal attack.
Let's get into it. There are, I think, almost 40 here. We're not going to go through them all. We'll just do a few. But like I said, it's on r/D100. So if you were to Google it, you can look up the scenarios yourself. But let's do it. So we'll just start out at the very top here, Darren. You finally have the villain at your mercy, but their child is with them. Are you willing to kill an innocent child's parent in front of their very eyes?
Is this rapid fire? Do I have to answer, or can I think for a sec?
You can think a little bit, but
okay. Let me think it out loud.
Walk me through your thoughts.
So, here's my thing. My gut instinct is we got to get rid of this villain. But the problem becomes, and let me say I'm not endorsing violence to both parties. You're creating another villain.
He wants to
So-
kill the kid.
he wants to kill.
No,
Oh,
you. I'm talking to the listener. Darren wants to kill the kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I didn't say that. Listen,
He didn't
I've played
say it.
enough Fallout games. I know I'm not allowed to do that. So you can't you can't create another villain. I feel like the correct thing in this scenario is to bring the villain to justice, to get them locked away, because then the kid's less likely to grow up and become a villain, and then you put the villain into like into bars. So I'm gonna cuff him.
Okay, interesting. So you're not willing to kill him. Now, I think it'll be fun if I play devil's advocate on some of these scenarios. So what if you were able to take the child with you and like mentor them and not just like leave them, not just like kill their parent and leave them. You bring them with you and now like basically you're their parent and you raise them and you make sure that they don't become a villain. Do you think that's plausible?
That sounds like a lot of work. I don't think I need that kind of obligation. No.
But by not killing the villain, you risk them escaping and then killing like a bunch more people in the future. All just for one kid's like potentially becoming a villain as well.
Yeah, and I mean there's still a chance, right? Like if the villain ends up behind bars, then maybe the kid still resents it. But I think that's how you start another villain. So you got to stop feeding the cycle.
Okay, so you want to break the wheel, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm over here destroying the cycle because, the gut instinct is like, sure, get rid of the villain. But with the kid there, you're just creating another villain down the road. So you're just kind of delaying the problem.
Okay, and you're not willing to just off the kid too?
I absolutely would not.
Okay.
No, that feels wrong because I feel like kids are inherently good. So.
I love how you went to further explain. I was like, as you're not willing to kill the kid? No, that feels wrong. And let me explain why. As if you even need to explain why. But, okay. No, I respect the decision. I mean, it is riskier. You're basically risking, like, the villain escaping versus the kid becoming a villain. But, I mean, morally, I think, you'd be doing the right thing.
If I'm a goody two-shoes paladin, that's the correct choice.
Yeah, good point. So that was scenario number 1. Let's get into scenario number 2 here.
It's a doozy.
The village is going to be culled to prevent the spread of a terrible plague. Do you spare the villagers by preventing the cull at risk of millions of lives dying to plague? Or do you kill off the villagers to spare the rest of the world from this plague? This is a good one.
So I'm the one that has to cull them?
Yes. Or, well, you're the one, you maybe don't necessarily have to do it with your own hands or anything, but you have to make the decision, do we off this entire village because they're all, like, infected and, basically, like, cut off the tumor, or do we spare them and risk, like, infecting the entire rest of the world?
So this is something we think is, like, it's endgame, right? Where it's, like, they're not going to get better from this.
For the sake of this, I would say they're probably not going to get better. But, I mean, it's not necessarily that they're going to die from it. I mean, a plague is death, so maybe.
Yeah, okay.
But here's the caveat. Not everyone in the village is infected. This is just where the plague has started. The majority are infected. They're not all infected, though.
Can I throw them in a volcano?
You'd be killing innocents. I mean, yeah. Is that what you want to do?
Wow, what a great way to purify. I think that I absolutely, without question, would choose to cull the village, to like cut them off, and maybe we could hit that gray area where like, okay, well we wall it off, but also we bring you food kind of thing, and like if you survive kind of thing. But maybe I'm creating a new supervillain that way, but I think in a very utilitarian mindset, and the unfortunate situation of this town does not outweigh the needs of society. So I think I'm comfortable walling them off and letting them live out the rest of their time until So
yeah, the walling off, that's a good workaround there, because you don't actually have to like I mean, they'll probably die anyway. I mean, are you going to like provide supplies to these people, or are they just completely on their own?
I mean, I could do both ways, right? Like I could call them, but I think the gray area of like walling it off and then someone survives, like imagine in this time period, I don't think we could get away with like a cure, but the people that survive, I mean, they could be studied and like we could use that. So that's
Okay.
probably a fate worse than death is being like picked apart by someone medically.
So you're hitting them with the dome, and then you're hoping some like Will Smith, I Am Legend-esque person escapes with a cure.
I mean, I don't want him to escape. I mean, I want him to survive, and then we'll pick him out after.
That's terrible. He's just gonna have witnessed all his friends and family. Okay, wow, that one's kind of messed up.
Did I think
I almost, you know what? You're saving your own morality by walling them off because you're not like actually committing to the decision of killing them. But I think actually killing them is maybe the kinder fate.
More humane.
Yeah, it might be the kinder fate.
But you were near them, so go ahead and put your head down. We're gonna lop it off with an axe.
What, the innocents?
Yeah, it looks like, oh well, you're not actually sick yet, but just in case.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they get for living in the village where the plague started. So tough luck.
Yeah. So with like resources, I wall them off, and then I give them, the food and supplies to survive, and then if anyone survives, we study them.
Okay, it's very I Am Legend-esque. I like it. All right, that was number 2. Let's go into number 3 here. A wizard has sent you on a simple errand: decommission his malfunctioning golem. But when you find the golem, it's exhibiting obvious signs of sentience and self-awareness. Do you continue to decommission it, or do you think maybe it deserves the freedom of other sentient beings?
Ooh, that's a really good question, because you don't know what the golem's capable of with this sentience, right? Like maybe it starts out like an iron giant type of thing where it's like very friendly and it's just trying to preserve things. So here's where my mindset is: less in a morality standpoint, in a if I don't decommission this golem, that wizard's gonna find me, and he's probably going to make me pay for it. So I think I got to decommission the golem.
Wow. What if the golem is more powerful than the wizard, though, and you just don't know it? Then you wouldn't.
Well, this just sounds like another villain.
You are so afraid of creating villains.
I'm trying to feed the cycle. You're right, from a morality standpoint. I don't know. I mean, this gets into, I'm not going to digress too deeply here, but it kind of gets into like an AI sentience kind of thing. Like, I think I got to off the golem, honestly.
He's afraid of the wizard.
At least, yeah. What would you do? What would you do with this one?
It's a good question. I think I'd have to sit down and have a conversation with the golem, because, it can be sentient, it can be self-aware, but how intelligent is it?
What if it doesn't speak though, right? Like it just does actions, but it's sentient. Like you can't have a conversation with it. You can't reason with it.
So that's a good question. How do I know it's sentient without having any sort of communication with it?
Like gestures, maybe, right? Like it understands, but it can't speak.
So I would say, raise your right hand if you're sentient, and then it'll raise its right hand. And be like,
are you planning on destroying humanity? Raise your right hand.
What would I do? I mean, the wizard created the golem, so I have to assume the wizard is more powerful. So probably just strictly out of self-preservation, I just got to carry out the task.
Okay, so you're giving me a hard time.
Well, yeah, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Your answer is the same thing.
Well, yeah, I got to play the devil's advocate here.
Well, that's fair. But I mean, like, how long is his beard, right? Because that's how powerful a wizard is, depending on how long their beard is.
It's like he could tuck it into his waistband.
I'm getting rid of that golem.
Smart choice. Smart choice. Okay. So yeah, that's a hard one though. When originally presented with it, but That was number 3. Let's get into number 4 here. And this one actually reminds me of a scenario in Walking Dead, which you haven't seen, but people out there, you'll probably know which situation I'm talking about when I read this question. You have captured some enemy soldiers for information, and you have them at your mercy. Do you let them go and risk them giving away your position, or do you slaughter them after they have given you the information you requested? They are unarmed.
Oh, that doesn't feel like a very nice question.
But it is, in fact, the question that you must answer.
That is brutal. So, I feel like if I treated them well enough, that I would be willing to let them go, but I would kind of like hold them until I felt comfortable enough to where they wouldn't hinder me. I don't think that other soldiers deserve to be offed just because they're following orders. I think if I treat them well, they'll acknowledge that.
So, just baseline here, though. They are your prisoners, right? You defeated them in battle. You chained them up. You fed them rations, scraps, whatever. You demanded information from them. So, that already doesn't seem like treating them very nice, and that's just baseline. Even if you didn't do anything worse, that's still pretty bad. Wouldn't you say?
It depends, right? Like, so keeping them fed, that's positive. Maybe they weren't getting that in their current, military. Was I keeping them in like a warm space? Like, was I doing to the best of my ability? As opposed to like interrogating them and like torturing them to get information. I feel like a lot of it depends on how you treated them as prisoners, but I don't think they deserve to be offed.
Okay. You're very anti-killing, I'm learning, which is good, I think, generally. But...
Listen, if in the first scenario, if you get rid of the kid, I'm painting the wall.
Well, yeah, that's... Do you kill the villain? Yeah, of course.
The big bad evil guy? Why, as a matter of fact, I might try. Yeah, no, I mean, you got to think about how these come back on you, too, which maybe it doesn't speak positively about a morality thing, but you have to wonder how you're going to be impacted in these situations. So you got to think about that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, okay. That was number 4, I think, right? So
yeah,
we'll move on to number 5 here. Your party is contracted to deal with a group of bandits that has been waylaying merchants on the road, miles outside of town. It turns out that the spoils of these robberies are being redistributed to the poor citizens. What do you do? Now, the options, while you think, the options are this, right? You've been contracted to deal with these bandits, which means take them out, stop them from, they're messing with the trade routes. These merchants, their merchandise that they have a right to, they've paid for, they've done everything right for. It's coming in on these wagons, these caravans, and bandits are going, and they're killing the people on the caravans, and they're stealing everything off there. But then they're redistributing all of that to poor citizens who live in poverty. So it's like a Robin Hood story. Do you stop Robin Hood, or what do you do? It's a great question.
I mean, Are they like offing the merchants, or are they just taking their wares?
It doesn't say specifically, but let's run a quick scenario for both. Let's say sometimes they kill them, sometimes they just steal the stuff and then they like leave them tied up. Let's branch off for each different one.
Yeah, I think that's my dividing line, actually. I think if they're violent, if they're harming these individuals or like offing them, I think that means that the bandits have to go. I think that shows who they are and that they're ruthless to get what they're doing. Because I mean, these merchants, they could just be working for a wealthy merchant. They could just be selling, like peddling the wares, and completely innocent to everything. So to off them doesn't feel right. As opposed to if they're just taking the wares, I'm more okay with that. But it does speak to me that if I've taken this contract, I've probably already done my research. So backing out of it could be bad. But that's my dividing line, is if they're offing people, I'm offing them.
Okay, so if they are killing the merchants, the ends do not justify the means. But if they are just tying up the merchants, it's okay. Another anti-killing take. We love to see it. Darren is not a murderous tyrant as we had earlier believed. He was talking about
Not a
loving
murder
being
hobo.
loving being saluted.
Wow, I was really thinking that this was just going to be used as blackmail, but it sure sounds like I'm coming out okay on this.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Me, what would I do? I mean, I was contracted to do it. They're getting taken out regardless, dude. I don't care. Those poor citizens are poor anyway.
You've already taken the coin, right? So you've done your homework already. I mean, at this point, to renege on your contract, they're going to off you.
Yeah, and I got to look out for number one, me, baby. But no, I mean, there's other ways to help poor citizens rather than like stealing from other people. It can be done without committing crimes. You know, why don't we figure out a better way to do it? That would be my thing.
What if we off bandits and then we give the clothing off the bandits' backs to the poor citizens? I'm a giver like that.
That's smart. Why don't we off bandits and then we can use the bandit hideout as like a homeless shelter? There we go. We're out here, dude. We're out here saving people,
solving problems. That's what we do.
Problem solvers. Now, but these were fun questions. There are a ton more, and a lot of them are user submitted within this thread. So, like I said at the beginning, if you just go to Google, search r/D100 moral dilemmas, you'll be able to find it. Read through some of them on your own, and you know, if you have any sort of these situations that you can come up with yourself, you know, feel free to comment them, and maybe we'll do another moral dilemma segment in the future, because this was fun.
Play along, you know, if you want to answer the questions that we answered, you know, maybe one or all of them, let us know. I want to know, what's your morality?
Yeah. Feel free to critique us. That's a good call. If you feel like I did, you know, if you feel like either of us had like a wrong answer, you have a better idea, let us know. But I think we're going to go ahead and end the town board segment right there. So let's hit this transition. How long have we been standing at this town board? The sun is in a completely different section of the sky now, and there's no music to be heard anymore either. Glancing around, we notice the town square is completely empty. Why on earth would that be? Suddenly we hear the pounding of footsteps headed in our direction. A woman sprints by, not even glancing at us as she goes. There doesn't appear to be anything chasing her, but then again, who are we to wait around and be proven wrong? Alarmed and alert, we follow. She takes a left and then a right, and as we lose sight of her behind a building, we start to hear what sounds like a commotion. Grunting, yelling. Is that somebody shrieking? We hesitate, but move forward anyway, readying ourselves for battle. As we round the corner, we're stopped dead in our tracks. Dozens of people stand before us, punching, kicking, wrestling each other. Even more are sprawled on the ground in various positions. Has the village been raided? What's going on? We start forward as if to join the fray, but hesitate. The people on the ground are getting back up now, seemingly simultaneously. But then just as quickly, they're back down. And then up. And then down. Hold on a second. We look around and it suddenly dawns on us where we're standing. The town militia's training grounds. Oh. And that brings us to our final specialty segment of the day, a new one at that, health potion. So this is actually not a fight or a combat encounter. Sorry if you feel tricked or misled there. This is actually a segment where we just talk about general health, wellness, fitness, all those sorts of things. Today's topic is going to be exercise, so we're going to get into some various forms, how they benefit you, and then talk a little bit about our personal experiences with that. But before we do any of that, I like to start off this segment with a question, and that's going to be for you, Darren, and then I'll answer as well. What have you done in your personal life for your health lately? Just give me one or two things.
Well, let me tell you that I'm into fitness. Fitness sandwich in my mouth.
Okay.
But what have I done for my health lately? It's been tough with the weather, but I've tried to keep up with hiking. I prefer hiking much more than, just hitting the concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe a bit off the path of exercise, but meal prep. I've been meal prepping. It helps save money, and it helps control what you're eating, and you can make things that are actually filling. There's definitely some meals that I've had that are like disgustingly filling for, a reasonable amount in their macros. But what have you done?
Me specifically, I have been trying to do more stretching, more yoga. Something I've gotten into recently, and it's not exactly the highest calorie burning sort of exercise, but I think it's good for you. Yoga has a lot of benefits, which we'll get into here in a sec. But for me, I just sit all day, and so it's good to stretch out. And I've got a nice little app on my phone. I built my own routine, and I can go through. And so just trying to maybe, I don't know that flexibility is super important to me, but stretching has a ton of benefits just in and of itself. So that, I feel, is just where I'm at right now in my journey. But yeah, I like the meal prep thing. You don't have to like give a whole recipe or anything, but what have you been making? Like any standouts?
So all of the recipes, not a single one has been from a different creator, from an individual on Instagram, but they've got like even a cookbook that they do. I would say standouts of the one. He makes a really good mac and cheese. So
okay.
That's one of the ones, but the mac and cheese isn't very filling. So rice and chicken dressed up a bunch of different ways is his shtick. So halal cart chicken is what it is. It's just essentially pretty spicy rice with spicy chicken, and then it's a Greek yogurt based sauce, and that's really what makes it so filling. A little bit of lettuce and tomatoes on the side. That is delicious for lunch, dinner, all meals. Fourth meal, don't even. It's fantastic.
Okay. That's awesome. I love me some good mac. So yeah, I have yet to make one of those, but I might have to here soon. You sent me some links, I remember.
Yeah, his secret for the mac is he uses evaporated milk, and that's what makes it so creamy. And it's much healthier for you as opposed to the alternates, but that's his shtick. I like that you've built a yoga routine. One of my things with yoga is I hate following guided yoga because I would rather just do maybe like 3 or 4 of the same stretch and then, do the different stretches 5 or 6 times as opposed to guided.
Yeah, and you could definitely do that with the app I use. So one thing, I was struggling to reach my goal. I was trying to do yoga at least 5 times a week, and I was struggling to do it. And part of it was because my brain led me to believe that it was too much effort to get the yoga mat out and get down on the ground and do all of that. So I built a routine that only has standing exercises. So I went through the different muscle groups, and it's like full body, but I only picked ones that you could do while you were standing, and it makes a lot of difference. So it's really just about tailoring it to yourself. So if that's what would work for you, I mean, why not do it if you want? But as long as you're doing something, I feel it's better than nothing in pretty much every case.
That's a great point. I took a health class in college, and one of the main things is motivation and how you motivate yourself. Mm-hmm. So I can't remember what the dancer's name is, but her thing was she could not stand getting ready to go dance. And she's like a prolific dancer. And so what she would do is she would put on her shoes and she would call a cab. And the cab would take her there, and then she would get it done. But that was her process. So instead of in her mind saying that she was going to dance, what she was doing was putting on shoes and calling the cab. And so it was much more attainable for her. So I like that you chose to do standing exercises because you couldn't stand getting the mat out.
Wow. What a what a great use of the English language there. But yeah, no, I mean, it's just it's something small. Getting the mat out is not hard to do, but it's another step, and the more steps I feel like something has to prepare, it's like seems harder to do, at least to me. But okay, cool. I'm glad we are both at least doing something to benefit our health there. Let's move into today's topic for the health potion segment, which is exercise. So we'll just give a brief rundown here. There are a few different forms of exercise. The first one we'll go over here is resistance training. This also encompasses strength training. So this is going to be lifting weights, using resistance bands, kettlebells, or even doing like body weight exercises like planks, push-ups, sit-ups, that type of thing. Darren, you have any experience? Have you ever been into lifting weights or anything like what I just mentioned?
Yeah, I was really big into lifting in high school. I actually took a strength training course, and then I fulfilled my criteria that I needed, and I took it again another semester. So I was very much into strength training for quite some time. So I've got some experience going through it. The free weights are far better than any of the Smith machines, like the controlled with the cables.
Oh, so. Yeah, the motions really is what makes the difference.
Yeah, because it trains like other small parts of your body that you're not expecting. Maybe you're doing like bench press and it's training like your front shoulders kind of thing. And since the Smith machine's on cables, it doesn't do nearly as much for your front shoulders.
Yeah. Do you have, I know you said this was a little bit ago. Do you remember if you had like a favorite muscle group you like to work, or even like an exercise that you really enjoyed?
I'm a big triceps guy. I think everyone focuses on biceps, but triceps are where the real power comes from. It's the antithesis, really. But having a nice tricep, that gets you places.
It does.
I mean, and what kind of guy doesn't like bench press either, right? So
yeah, that's the one that people love.
It's quintessential. Like dumbbell curls as well. I like to do the isolated dumbbell curls where you grab the bench and you'll put your arm over the side and then it isolates it, so that way you're getting it's much harder as opposed to the people that are like swinging to get the momentum. That doesn't do as much for you.
Yeah. Curls is a lot of form. People definitely do use like their full body weight sometimes to get it up, which defeats the entire purpose and can lead to injury. So don't do that. But the isolated really takes away even being able to do that. And it is much harder, but it's much more satisfying when you can really get that dumbbell up, get the pump going.
It's a curl, not a thrust.
Yeah, very, very true. For me, I would say I love shoulders. I love doing shoulders. There's something about it that just feels so powerful when you're just like lifting with your shoulders. I don't know. Maybe because it's like above your head. Probably just like a basic shoulder press, dude. I like Arnold's. So an Arnold press is going to be where you start off with the dumbbells like at like neck level, I guess, and you have your wrists rotated so that the dumbbells are like the big bulky portion is like kind of like front to back. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I'm describing this correctly.
Perpendicular to your body.
Yeah, and so then when you lift it up, you twist your wrists. It's basically like a shoulder press, but you twist your wrist. So then like the butts of the dumbbells like hit against each other at the top, and then you come back down and you twist them back. So I maybe didn't describe that the best, but look up Arnold press if you're listening to this. It's a pretty popular exercise.
You did a great job. You just start in one motion and twist as you go up.
Yeah, basically.
Much respect for dumbbells. I've seen people do shoulder press with a barbell, and it doesn't make much sense to me.
I prefer dumbbells for most things just because it gives you a lot more range for your motion. I mean, even like bench press, like dumbbell chest press to me feels a lot better than like the straight bar. I don't know. It's just personal preference. But Yeah, so that's resistance training. Quick tidbit about that. Resistance training helps with things like fall prevention, bone density, mental clarity, and just overall health and performance. It's also a great way to build muscle or just get a little defined if that's what you're going for. But it definitely improves endurance too and increases your overall strength, which endurance is a big one, especially if you do, if you don't skip your leg workouts, you just feel a lot stronger walking around throughout the day after you've done a few rounds of the strength training exercises for legs. So that's resistance training. Next is going to be cardio. Darren, I know you mentioned hiking earlier as one of your sort of preferences for this. I'm pretty into hiking too. Why do you like it so much, would you say?
So let's start with, square one. Treadmills. I feel like a lot of people prefer treadmills on the whole, but you don't go anywhere. You're exercising. It is exercise. That's not interesting to me. I want to go places. I want to see things. So that already eliminates treadmills. But concrete doesn't feel as good to me. That also feels like, all right, I'm just putting in the exercise. There is such a thing as, I think it's referred to as urban hiking, which just sounds like a walk in a city, but more of a discovery element. And I think that's where hiking excels, is it kind of distracts you from the fact that you are exercising. Not to mention being out in nature is really nourishing from a mental standpoint.
Oh yeah.
So
Totally.
also there's a lot of mental fortitude that goes with hiking. You would think like you just throw in your headphones, but it's way more preferable if you take out your headphones and you're actually just kind of looking around and immersing yourself in the situation. And it teaches you to unplug. Like, it's really difficult to be without your phone for an amount of time, and you may think that's hilarious for me to say, but you can try going hiking, and I think you'll start to realize that you miss your phone after maybe like 10 to 15 minutes. And after the half-hour point for me is when it clicked and I started to feel a lot better. And I think the benefits from hiking carry on as well. It's not something that's just a one-off.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was going to mention, was when you do, because I've done it a few times where you just kind of like walk in silence almost, and it really is only for the first few minutes of the hike where you're like, oh, this sucks, like I wish I was listening to something, this and that. But then you just kind of get into like a flow state, like a zone where you're just kind of like one with the trail and nature, and it's really peaceful. I
Absolutely.
think that's the best way to get sort of the mental health benefits from hiking, is to just really take it all in. So hiking's great. I love hiking as well. It's definitely my favorite form of cardio. Hiking actually, so there's actually two forms of cardio. There's low intensity, long duration cardio, which is what hiking is, where you're not necessarily running, you're not pacing yourself, you're just kind of walking. What makes it sort of, a little bit intense is like the inclines and the declines and things like that, because you're going to be working muscles, you're going to be getting your heart rate up, but you're not necessarily running through the trails. So some other examples of that include like cycling, like rowing, swimming, those sorts of things. Now, high intensity interval training, you have any experience with anything like that, Darren? It's going to be like calisthenics. There's like all of those sorts of videos out there. I don't know if you're familiar with like Insanity workout or like P90X, those sorts of things, where it's like very intense, like body weight workouts, and then you like let your heart rate come down a little bit, and then you like go right back up with the high intensity, and it's just kind of like up and down like heart rate wise. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. High intensity interval training is great. I won't stay on hiking forever, but actually I used high intensity interval training to get better at hiking, because there were segments where, it was flat. And so I would run for maybe like half a minute, and then I'd catch my breath, I'd walk for a minute, and then I'd repeat, based on the segments. And overall my fitness improved just with doing that, as opposed to, everyone thinks that you have to jog or run, do steady state. But I think high intensity training is a way better way to get in shape faster in terms of like general fitness, but obviously it doesn't fully help your endurance.
Yeah, you were big into the VO2 max sort of area for a while, weren't you? Trying to figure that
Yeah.
out and just really maintain.
It's basically like how well your lungs and your body can use oxygen, because I mean you can only take it in like a set amount. So that was the main identifier, I guess, that you could use. But high intensity interval training I would absolutely recommend, and that's how a lot of people, like those couch to 5K, they use the same principles of high intensity interval training, just at a different ratio.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, my experience with it was in high school. I did the insanity workouts. Those are pretty intense. I've revisited
They're no
those in
joke.
the past few years, and they're still they hold up. That's just one of those things. It's timeless. But yeah, definitely cardio. Not my favorite sort of exercise, but I mean, there's so many benefits to it, and I will go over a few of those here right now. They're great for your heart health and overall energy levels. So it's funny. It's one of those things where you really, at least me, I'll speak for myself. I dread doing cardio because it tires me out. But then it's like if I go for like an hour-long hike, I'm so tired. I'm ready for bed that night. I sleep really good, and then the next day I end up having more energy than I would have if I didn't hike. So I've definitely noticed
Absolutely
that
right.
myself. It's really good for your heart as well, obviously, so cardio is going to help reduce your risk of heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol, all those sorts of things. So, and you don't have to do the high intensity. You don't have to run. Just go for a walk. 30 minutes of walking a day. That's even just a great start. So that's cardio. Next, we're going to get into some flexibility training. So this is mostly like stretching, right? So we were talking about yoga a little bit earlier. That's sort of one of the things you could do as far as stretching goes. There's actually a few different types of stretching. Dynamic, active, and passive. So dynamic is going to be more like the moving stretches, like lunges, for example, where you like pause at the bottom and you're moving. That's going to be a dynamic stretch. And then static stretching is where you just kind of like stretch and then hold it for like 30 seconds to a minute or whatever. So myself, I think I prefer the static stretching, which is going to be like yoga, like I was talking about, where I just kind of get into a good position, feel the stretch, feel the burn, and just hold it. What about you, Darren? Do you have any sort of preference for stretching or anything like that?
There's a place for both. I definitely agree with you that I prefer static stretching, but before you work out, at least for resistance training, I think it's applicable for cardio as well. You want to make sure that you're starting with dynamic stretching and ending with static stretching, I believe is the order, just to help warm up your muscles and then to help cool down after.
Yeah, that is the correct order there. That's a good call. Yeah, I didn't even think to mention that. So thanks for the
Interesting tidbit for you. I don't know if this came up in any of your reading, but I learned about it in my health class. Have you ever heard of ballistic stretching?
I actually just took a health course as well. I know that it's not recommended to do. I have heard of it, but I can't remember what it is right now.
So it's a type of dynamic stretching, and really it's meant for like high-class athletes and experts. You use the momentum of your body to essentially overstretch. But I thought that was really interesting, that it would be something that they would even recommend. So don't go trying it at home. But you see athletes, maybe in football, I think I've seen it a fair amount, where it looks like athletes are like overextending. They're doing it on purpose, and it's really cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's a great tidbit. That's a great addition. Thank you for that. So yeah, definitely a ton of different sort of flexibility options out there. Like I was talking about yoga, there's Tai Chi.
Tai Chi, isn't that a type of tea?
No. But no, it's not. But I do like tea. You're getting me off track here. Sorry. Flexibility training I was talking about. Yeah, there's plenty of different options. That's probably like the easiest thing. If you don't do any exercise at all, start stretching. Because what I've found in my personal life is once you start doing one thing, it leads to another and leads to another, and then you'll be out here doing crazy things you never thought of. So find a stretching routine that works for you. Start stretching, work it into your daily routine, and it's a great first step, I think, right there.
Yeah, and just do a little. You don't have to do, half an hour. Take 20 seconds. Take a minute out of your day. Maybe you end your day and you want to increase your flexibility. Do some static stretches for your legs. It takes maybe a minute or two each day, and you don't think it makes a difference, but you're investing in yourself, and you'll get compound gains out of it.
For sure. Yeah. And like my yoga routine is only 10 minutes. So it's not even anything crazy. It's just, it's nice to do. And also flexibility, as far as its benefits, it's going to help you avoid muscle tightness. You'll have improved balance and range of motion, and you can protect your body from injuries. So really no reason not to do it, because it's pretty easy to get into. So that's
and
that.
Flexibility, it makes you popular.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, that was Health Potion though. Let's get on out of here. Darren, what do you say?
Let's send it.
Okay. And that brings us, unfortunately, to the end of the episode. A pretty fun adventure today, I'd say. A good mixture of heavy and light topics. Whoever set that up is a genius. Core memories.
And humble.
And very humble. Core memories, moral dilemmas, and some solid information on exercise. All around, pretty nice. Some favorite moments for me. I really liked talking about our core memories today. That was I didn't know about that core memory from you, and it's cool to just paint a picture of just like a childhood Darren that I didn't know, because I don't think you were around in second grade yet. But
I was.
Well, maybe my memory is not as good as I think.
That's a rough memory.
Yeah, a memory. He's never going to let me live that down. Let's move on before he says it again. Before we sign off, though, we do need to check out the Tavern Bounty Board. So this week's bounty, we got a brand new one for you. Explore a local park or walking trail that you've never been to before. Very on topic, very on brand. There we go. Best of luck to you. And
then next week, we'll tell you all about an item in your bathroom that you've been using wrong. Could even save your life. Subscribe to our podcast and follow us on socials at Sips and Side Quest to be notified when our next release lands to find out more. Leave a comment to let us know how we're doing, and drop a like for some easy experience points. This has been Darren.
And this has been Troy. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll see you right back here next time for yet another adventure.